So you were in a dieting phase. It was all going so well. You're dropping body fat quite nicely. However, it has got to the point where the body fat is not really dropping off. You're doing what you should be. You're doing your cardio, you're doing your steps, you're eating the meal plan, but you're getting frustrated because the scale weight is not moving. The question is, do you push harder or do you pull back? Because there are absolutely times to do either or, but we're going to go and deep dive into this video as to what you should specifically do. So I've jotted down some notes for you, and this has been really off experience going through with clients, and especially the next coming weeks where we've got a couple of guys getting ready for photo shoots. This more than ever has come to the fruition and the light, so we have to look at the clients for this. So the first thing I want you to look at, is it a stall or are you just holding fatigue? Is you'll know if it's a stall where for the last 2 to 3 weeks you have seen no downward trend on the scale, you visually don't look tighter, or you look the same and the scale weight stayed the same. That is a stall. However, it may not be that your fat loss has stalled. Maybe it is the next point that your fatigue is high, and these are a few metrics you can check. First of all, you're going to look at the objective data. So first of all, you've got the localized fatigue in certain areas. This is where, like, if you smash a big boy leg day, you'll hold a lot of inflammation in your legs. Jump on the scale the next day, your scale weight's going to be up. You're going to be confused. You're going to think, well, I burnt a lot of calories, I trained really hard, but now my scale weight is actually up. This is normal. High amounts of inflammation. Do your steps really late at night. The next morning, more than likely, scale weight's going to be up because you've just caused a lot of stress to the body that's not been able to adapt from and recover from, ready for the next day. The next thing you've got is holding in the gym. You're trying to hold the numbers you were doing before, but it's more effort to do so. This is a very good sign that you're holding fatigue because technically, although the number on the disc is the same, you're having to produce more output just to maintain that. And then your resting heart rate, you'll find, will be higher all of the time. When you find this happening, then this is a good sign that you are actually holding fatigue versus the need to push. You've also got some subjective data like lower desire to train, decline in daily energy, and legs will have this heavy style of feeling. So the difference between being fatigued versus just a stall is that fatigue will wash and really give you an untrue reading of how the scale weight's looking, versus a stall where the scale weight is just sat flat. You'll know if you're stalling because you'll be like realistically, are you hanging out? Are you really that hungry? Are you really that fatigued and tired? The answer's no. It's more likely that it's a stall. That said, if the answer's yes, you're tired, legs feel heavy, your appetite to train is really, really not there, and it's going to get like that in a diet phase, sure. You'll find that if sleep has been poor for more than 1 or 2 nights on the bounce, it's going to really reflect quite poorly on the scale. I'll say this till I'm blue in the face on this channel. You need to be sleeping. You need to be getting your sleep in each every night, 8-9 hours, sleeping like a baby, because that's how it's the best thing you're going to be able to do to combat fatigue. You could do all the other recovery tools that are out there. The best thing you can do is just sleep more. That's what's going to sleep more and manage your stress levels. Like, if you have a stressful day at work, it is what it is. The next day, you might hold more water weight through cortisol being higher, but it is what it is. Like, sometimes you can't always like advocate for zero stress, but if you can manage it so it is lower, that would be more optimal, of course. So when you are in this space and you've got one of two choices, and it depends on your timeline, your goal, what you need to be ready for. You can either push or you can pull. Now, you can't get time back in a dieting phase if you need to be ready for a certain time, but you can always put more food back in. It's the same as like a haircut. Like, you can always just take a little bit more off, but you can't fucking put it back on once you fucking cut the hair off. It's the same with time. So I prefer to err on the side of push harder first, and then if we need to, we'll recover it with a little bit of food giving back then. But what you'll find is once you've had a couple of good nights sleep, you'll have your answer if it was fatigue. Because let's say you're sleeping very well and the scale's still not dropping, that's a green light that you're not in a massive deficit and you need to turn the wheel, you need to make a change on that to get things going again. But if you find the scales drop nicely, you're looking harder, tighter after a couple of good nights sleeps, then it was a green light to say that fatigue was high. So let's try and combat it before it gets there. Fatigue is going to be a thing, but it's one thing that could really put a hindrance in achieving the transformation. And I've experienced it day in, day out with clients where they'll get frustrated because their scale weight is up, they're doing everything they should be, and they're thinking, why am I not dropping? And this is where you look at visuals, and this is where once they have slept well, big drop-offs happen, and then they look harder and tighter. They're like, cool, right, I see this now. Your ability to manage fatigue in a dieting phase is what's going to determine the success of it. Some tips we can have in terms of like being able to adhere to the diet over the long term. You've got the way you manage food. So look at it like this. You're going to get given a set amount of calories, fine. But the way you eat those calories can be two completely different things. If I make you a diet plan that has cereal for breakfast or for pre-gym, has rice, has breads, has bananas in it, versus protein powders as well, versus a diet that has oats, that has potato, that has berries, that has voluminous like vegetables, that has egg whites, versus all the counterparts I just mentioned, those two diets are going to look completely different on the plate. And your ability to manage your hunger levels through voluminous food and specifically fiber is going to really help you. I said it in the last video and I'll say it in this one. For fiber, you want to be having 14, that's 14 grams per 1,000 calories. So typically for using a dieting phase, anywhere from 30 to 45, depending on the size of your deficit, is what's going to be needed. That's how I'd manage food. How I'd manage training to essentially reduce fatigue is as you get towards the back end of these transformations in your dieting phase, look to run your training in the series of a top set, heavy 6 to 10, and the back off set of 12 to 15. Mainly on your compound movements. The reason for this, training with hard intensity forces the muscle, forces your body to have a reason to keep that level of muscle on your bones, versus high volume, which is just going to burn through a lot of glycogen and really spike appetite. Be smart in the exercises you do. Rather than doing barbell bent over row, do a chest supported row. Rather than doing a back squat, do a leg press. Do things that are more supported and target the working muscle rather than things that globally are going to fatigue you because you have to stabilize them. When it comes to cardio, don't be going out running, don't be doing HIIT training, do lists, and obviously your steps for NEAT because they're going to come at a lower cost of fatigue. All of this sort of stuff is going to give you longevity in this. Now, I'm not saying a dieting phase is supposed to be sustainable. It's not. It's supposed to achieve a short-term bout of dropping body fat to get to a level of leanness, either for photos, photo shoots, holidays, or just to get you ready for a gaining phase. So don't look at these as sustainable, but we can make them more bearable, and that's my approach, which I'm telling you to do here. And likewise, if you're like me, I prefer to push cardio really high so I can keep food a little bit higher because I just find I've got a massive appetite. I always have, and I probably always will have a big appetite, so I'd much prefer to do more. So going back to it, sleep will be your absolute weapon to manage fatigue, plus the other points I've just mentioned there in how to manage a dieting phase successfully. And then don't be shy of pushing it aggressively. Like, you'll know if sleep's good and you're not dropping, you better be turning those dials. Extra 10 minutes of cardio per day. Make sure you're monitoring your heart rate, still 120 to 130. Or you pull a little bit of food, 200 calories, take it from fats. Again, volume out first. There's no volume in fats. It's literally like, it's tiny and it's calorie dense. Remove them first, and then it's going to keep volume into the diet. Now, you're never going to be on zero fat. It'll go down to trace fats at the very worst, but you're never going to be on 0% fat diet. It's nigh on impossible, nor do you want to sit on that anyway. So for a hormone perspective, if you're on trace fats for 2 weeks, you're going to be absolutely fine. So, and that's the absolute worst case scenario. Obviously, you're going to keep your fats fairly high. Like when you set that dieting phase up for the beginning, you're going to be looking at 20% of the overall calorie target that you're going to hold fats at, which is going to give you a high amount, really. Like the average diet is going to start on 2,300. So they're going to give you about 45, 50 grams of fat to have. Plenty to play with. So that's my hot take for you anyway in today, when you should push and when you should pull. If you found it of value, great, subscribe to the channel, and we do deliver videos every day. So I will see you guys tomorrow. If you want to come join us inside the Gorilla Platoon and you want me to get the transformation done for you, there'll be links in the description. Roll through there and see if we're a good fit for you. Thanks for watching as always. See you tomorrow.